The bell above the restaurant door chimed softly, but the entire room went silent. Not the kind of silence that comes from peace. The kind that comes from fear. Forks froze mid-air. Conversations died mid-sentence. Even the chef peeked nervously from the kitchen window. Because he had walked in. Dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit, his presence alone seemed to dim the lights. His face was calm, too calm, but his eyes carried stories no one dared to ask about. They called him many things. The ghost of Milan. The untouchable. But mostly, they called him nothing at all. Because nobody dared to speak his name. He walked slowly to a corner table, his usual table. No one had ever seen him sit anywhere else. And no one had ever seen him speak. Not once. The staff moved like frightened shadows. The manager whispered urgently, "No mistakes tonight. No eye contact. Just serve him and leave." Because rumors were everywhere. Some said he once shut down an entire business overnight because someone spilled wine on his shoes. Others said he had enemies in every city, and none of them lived long enough to talk about it. But there was one rumor that made people lower their voices to a whisper. He doesn't forgive. That's when she noticed him. Lena. A young waitress who had only been working there for 2 weeks. Unlike the others, she didn't freeze. She didn't panic. She simply watched him. Carefully. Curiously. There was something off about him. Not dangerous, no, that part was obvious. But lonely. She couldn't explain it. But beneath that cold exterior, there was something broken. Something tired. "Lena," the manager hissed. "Don't stare. Just take his order and come back. No talking." She nodded, but her eyes didn't leave him. She walked toward the table. Every step felt louder than it should. The air grew heavier. The silence thicker. When she reached him, he didn't even look up. "Your order, sir," she said softly. No response. Just silence. Everyone in the restaurant was watching now. Waiting. Praying she wouldn't make a mistake. Lena hesitated. Then something unexpected happened. Something no one had ever seen before. She smiled gently, and spoke again. But this time. In Italian. "Buonasera, cosa desidera mangiare?" "Good evening, what would you like to eat?" The effect was instant. His hand froze. Slowly, he looked up. For the first time, his eyes met someone else's. And the entire restaurant held its breath. Because in that moment, something changed. Not anger. Not threat. Something else. Recognition. "Tu parli italiano?" he asked quietly. "You speak Italian?" Lena nodded. "Un po'. Mia nonna era italiana." "A little. My grandmother was Italian." For a second, the cold mask on his face cracked. Just slightly. But enough. Enough for Lena to see what no one else ever had. Pain. He studied her. Not like a predator. But like someone trying to remember something they had lost long ago. "Portami, quello che vuoi," he said finally. "Bring me, whatever you want." The entire room gasped silently. Because that had never happened before. He had spoken. And not just that. He had trusted someone. As Lena walked back to the kitchen, the manager grabbed her arm. "What did you say?" "I just spoke to him," she replied calmly. In Italian. The manager looked terrified. But Lena smiled. Because for the first time since he walked in, the Mafia Boss didn't look like a monster. He looked like a man who hadn't heard home in a very long time. The next evening, he came back. Same time. Same table. But this time, the silence felt different. Not as heavy. Not as cold. Because everyone was waiting for one thing. Her. Lena. As she approached his table again, the fear in the room was replaced by curiosity. What would happen now? Would he ignore her again? Would he go back to being the silent shadow everyone feared? She smiled gently. "Bentornato," she said. "Welcome back." For a brief second, his lips almost moved. "Almost." "Sei in ritardo," he replied calmly. "You're late." Lena blinked, then laughed softly. "Only by 2 minutes." And just like that, something impossible happened. A faint smile appeared on his face. The staff nearly dropped plates. The manager stared in disbelief. Because no one had ever seen him smile. Night after night, Lena served him. And night after night, he spoke more. Not about business. Not about power. But about Italy. The streets of Rome. The smell of fresh bread. The sound of laughter echoing through narrow alleys. And slowly, piece by piece, the story came out. He wasn't born a monster. He was made into one. Years ago, he had a family. A small one. A peaceful one. But in his world, peace never lasts. Enemies took everything from him. His home. His happiness. His reason to smile. And from that day on, he stopped speaking. Because the language he loved reminded him of everything he lost. Until Lena. "You remind me of someone," he said one evening. "Who?" "My sister." Lena froze. What happened to her? He didn't answer immediately. But his silence said everything. And in that moment, Lena understood. He wasn't avoiding people. He was protecting himself from feeling again. But something inside him was changing. Because of her. Because she didn't see a mafia boss.